You're listening to Food Delight on VOV 24/7, the show for all you foodies out there. Welcome to VOV 24/7's Food Delight, where you can find useful tips and recipes from renowned chefs. On today's show, we are delighted to welcome Adam Liaw, MasterChef Australia winner 2010, who is also a well-known cook, writer and TV presenter in Australia and overseas. Adam was recently in Hanoi as part of his ASEAN tour.
I'm Adam Liaw. I'm ambassador for Australia now for the Australian Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade.
As far as I know, your trip to ASEAN aims to promote Australia's cuisine. What do you offer us this time?
They are typical of the kind of dishes that Australians make. It's not a classic dish at all. It's not the kind of thing that every Australian would know how to make, but this is the style of cooking that Australians love to do.
What is the cooking style of Australians?
Australian food is simple, it's very multicultural, and it focuses a lot on the ingredients and the quality of the ingredients. We have very high quality ingredients in Australia, and so our food tends to be simple to reflect the best of those ingredients.
Adam Liaw's approachable and family-friendly recipes are influenced by his global travels, but remains focused on the casual simplicity of modern Australian home cooking. On this trip to Hanoi, Adam brought with him some typical Australian ingredients. One of them is salmon. Today, he will share with us some simple tips on how to make smoked salmon with tarator sauce.
We eat a lot of salmon in Australia. We produce excellent cold water salmon from down in Tasmania. And the tarator sauce, it has Middle Eastern origins, sort of Turkish, Lebanese style sauce using tahini and yogurt. That's a very common, I guess, influence in Australian food. We eat a lot of Lebanese community.
Adam focuses on balancing different flavors in his dishes. How do you combine different ingredients to create a great balance?
The sauce is really just a mix of classic Middle Eastern style ingredients. The tahini is very, very popular. Yogurt, lemon juice, a bit of honey. A simple sauce that's just balanced by the sourness of the yogurt and lemon juice with the sweetness of the honey, the slight bitterness of the tahini, and then a bit of salt to bring it together. We used mint and coriander, but then also added some chili, some nuts for texture, walnuts and also Australian macadamia nuts as well, and then some red onion.
How do you cook the salmon, the main ingredient for the dish?
Salmon is a really great fish for cooking just simply pan-fried. You can do it on a barbecue. Frying pan, I think, is one of the most versatile things in the kitchen, so I tend to cook a lot of things just in an ordinary good quality frying pan, and it's just as simple as getting the pan quite hot, putting some oil in, a bit of salt on the salmon, and then cooking it mainly on one side and then turning over just to finish it. You don't want to overcook salmon because it can get quite dry, but just lightly cooked so it's still very tender is the perfect way to cook salmon.
Do we need to marinate the salmon for long?
Food is better when it's simple. So I quite often try to stay away from a lot of different spices, particularly if you're not using spices correctly. Spices for me are better when they go into dishes that are cooked for a long time, because it gives time for the flavour of the spice to develop. But for dishes that you want to cook in a very short period of time, as simply as some salt onto the salmon is delicious, because all that you get is the taste of nicely seasoned salmon.
How should I serve the tarator sauce in this dish?
To serve the salmon, you can either pour the sauce on top of the salmon or pour it underneath the salmon. I think I like the salmon to retain, particularly if you pan-fried it, some of that crispy exterior. So keeping the sauce underneath the salmon is a great way to do that.
So we've learned some tips for a great salmon recipe with Australian chef Adam Liaw. Thanks, Adam, for joining us. Goodbye for now.